We're back for our 5 best player props here for week number 10 of the NFL season. Earlier today, we posted our 5 best bets for money lines and spreads again for Sunday and Monday for this NFL action. So make sure to go check out that video. That is linked in the description down below. And earlier in the week, we posted our full predictions for every single game here in week number 10. So again, both of those drop earlier on in the week. Again, the best bets video earlier today. And now, of course, here are our 5 best bets for this slate. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more best bets and NFL content here on the channel. Again, this is weekly on the channel and also on the channel. College football predictions will be tomorrow, but Monday. Daily MLB or daily NBA and college basketball best bets on the channel as well. Make sure you go check those out as we get on now to the first of our 5 best player props here for week number 10. Starting things off with the game over in Germany, in Berlin. We got the Indianapolis Colts and the Atlanta Falcons. It is a game that I expect the Colts to dominate just because the Falcons aren't very good and we know the Colts are good. But we're starting things off with Michael Pittman Jr. over 56.5 receiving yards. This is something that we have gone to quite a bit. We have gone to Pittman's line really a lot this season, but last 3 weeks have been absolutely huge for Michael Pittman, and he's finally getting elite receiver usage. It's something that Pittman hasn't really, treatment he hasn't gotten in a while. I mean, 2024 was not a great year for Pittman, still at 800 yards, but dealt with injuries and played hurt the entire season. It was, he was supposed to go on IR at one point, and then all of a sudden, Pittman's back in the locker room, and now he's playing Sunday. He went through a lot of injuries in 2024. 2023 was really good for Pittman. It was his best season with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. 22 was pretty good as well. It was just, there was a big step back, honestly, in 2024. He's right back where he needs to be in 2025. Again, as playing healthy now. So Pittman so far this year, 560 yards coming off his best game of the season last week on the road in Pittsburgh. 9 catches on 12 targets for 115 yards for Michael Pittman Jr. He has really put himself and reestablished himself as, I would say, a upper tier receiver in the National Football League. But the last 3 weeks have been huge usage days for Pittman, dating back to that game in Los Angeles on the 19th of October. Pittman, 7 catches on 9 targets for 58 yards. Titans game the week after that back in Indianapolis, 8 catches, 9 targets for 95 yards and a touchdown. Obviously had that crazy one-handed grab. I mean, that defender is draped all over him. Pittman reaches back, one hand snags that touchdown, also as the catch where, sure, it deflects off his hands right away, but ball literally gets bumped in the air. Pittman, as a Tennessee defender is all over him, Pittman grabs that football and hauls it down or hauls it in. Again, Michael Pittman's been very big this season for the Indianapolis Colts, and that's what happens when you have a quarterback like Daniel Jones who can actually get him the football and get the football to him on a consistent basis. Now, this week, Indianapolis is playing the Atlanta Falcons, again, over in Germany, so neutral site game. Falcons aren't very good. You don't need me to tell you that. Atlanta is a 3-5 team this season, and last week, Demario Douglas went for 4 catches and 100 yards on this team. And sure, again, if you want a better comp, I would say that is Stephon Diggs in terms of what will Pittman look like. And I know, again, Diggs did not have the best day last week for the Patriots, but I would expect Pittman to probably have a better usage day than Stephon Diggs. You know, Diggs is the number 1 receiver, but when you really look at what the Patriots do, again, Diggs has the title receiver one. They don't always get him the football, and he puts up big fantasy numbers because he's very touchdown dependent, right? There are guys like Keyshawn Boutte, who was hurt last week and who was hurt again this week for New England, and last week Pop Douglas, who do get the same, if not more, targets on a weekly basis than Stephon Diggs. We date back 2 weeks to the Falcons' very disappointing loss at home to the Miami Dolphins. Number 1 receiver for Miami. Does he play at all like Michael Pittman? Not really, but Jalen Waddle against the Falcons goes for 5 catches and 99 yards. Receiver ones, or just receivers in general, are able to break through against an Atlanta secondary that looked good at the beginning of the season and has not looked good recently. And it helps Michael Pittman when he has, elite talent in the National Football League. That is undeniable. I've been so big on Pittman since his days at USC. Again, I used to watch, it's like 8 years ago now. 7 years ago, when Michael Pittman used to vlog on YouTube. He doesn't really do it much now because he's taking care of a whole farm now over in Indiana. But regardless, right? I used to watch this guy when he was at USC, and I've always been big on Michael Pittman. I've known he's always got the talent, and obviously he's shown up and he's produced so far this season. Obviously signed a huge extension a couple seasons ago. He's the highest paid receiver in Indianapolis Colts history, and he's proving that this season. And so a line like 56.5 just is not a lot for him, considering what Pittman has done the last 2 weeks, just 3 weeks technically, but last 2 weeks especially. Against Tennessee, 8 catches, 95 yards. Against Pittsburgh, for Pittman, 9 catches for 115 yards. It's a game that I expect the Colts to dominate. It's a game that I expect the Colts to see a lot of success in the air. And really, it doesn't really... The Colts are going to be successful anywhere offensively. Yeah, last week was a step back against Pittsburgh, but that run game only benefits the pass game as well. So again, Taylor and Pittman and Warren and Jones all help each other out in this offense. And oh, by the way, Michael Pittman has tied already a career high in touchdowns in a single season with 6. He's going to get in the double digits this season, I really expect. There's still 8 more games for this team, 7 more games for this team. Yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. over 56.5 receiving yards is just too low of a line. Expect that line to be in the 60s, I believe, soon throughout the rest of the season. So, again, Michael Pittman Jr. over 56.5 receiving yards. On to our second best player prop of the week. We move to a game. Devon Vele is no longer on the Denver Broncos. I want to make that very clear. He was actually traded to New Orleans in this offseason. But we are going to go with Devon Vele over 19.5 receiving yards this week. For the longest time, I really questioned why Vele was traded to New Orleans and why the Saints even went out there and tried to acquire this guy. And they didn't give up the most for him. They gave up a 4th round pick for Vele? I thought it was like 6th. Why do they do that? Because, okay, Devon Vele was an old receiver. Let's call it how it is at Utah. He was 25 when he graduated college. If I'm not mistaken, Vele is Mormon, so he did a 2-year mission. That's what I'm getting out of it. Yeah, he did a 2-year mission. And so, he graduated high school in 2015. That's kind of crazy. Wow. Yeah. He's Pittman's age. Holy crap. Well, Devon Vele, again, he serves a 2-year mission, and then he comes back and walks on. He played high school football, obviously. Walks on at Utah, obviously he's on the team, plays 5 years at Utah, and gets drafted in 2024. Last year was his rookie year at 26 years old. Yeah. He turns, by the way, his birthday's in December, so he was 27 at the end of his rookie season. And Vele wasn't bad last year for Denver. He made somewhat of an impact, had 475 yards, caught 3 touchdowns. Again, yes, he's a rookie, but he's an older rookie, and the Saints used a 4th round pick on him. Why did they do that? Because they haven't even used Vele at all this year. I'm going to tell you why they're going to use him in a second, but it's kind of weird. Now, okay, I understand I'm picking a guy here who had 0 catches and 0 targets last week. You have to use him eventually. You traded for him for a reason. And also, who the hell else are you going to throw the football to? So Vele walks into this team now, walks basically in a somewhat starting role. And he's going to be either the 3rd or 2nd receiver, basically dependent on how you treat Brandon Cooks. Now, also, New Orleans did trade for another receiver in the offseason. They did trade for Jalen Polk, the 3rd receiver really at Washington. Polk was a 2nd round pick. Oh my goodness. They traded for Jalen Polk. Obviously, it was him, Jalen McMillan, and obviously Romo Dunze on that great Washington Huskies team that lost the national championship game to the Michigan Wolverines in that crazy run that the Huskies had a couple seasons ago. But the Saints also did trade for Jalen Polk from the New England Patriots. They sent a 6th round pick over to the Patriots for Polk. But I believe Polk's always been out for the season, I think, or at least until the end of the year. So anyways, they have Trey Palmer too, who was a Buccaneer last year. Palmer's out for the year. So there's 3 receivers this team has. Yes, they have a pretty deep tight end room, actually. They have Juwan Johnson, who's been putting up big numbers. They have Foster Moreau, and they also obviously have Taysom Hill, who's their everything player. In terms of their straight receiving core, they've got Chris Olave, they've got Brandon Cooks, Devon Vele, and Mason Tipton, the 3rd or 2nd year man out of Yale, who has not recorded a single catch this season. He's had 2 targets all year long. I don't expect him to be a big threat. New Orleans is a very injured team, and obviously, right, they just traded Rashid Shaheed over to the Seattle Seahawks. Big move for Seattle to really bolster up that unit again now. That receiving core looks really nice. Obviously, JSN's leading the league in receiving yards right now. You could argue maybe he's the league's best receiver. Obviously, you got Cooper Kupp, who is old, and then now Rashid Shaheed as well. The Saints are a 1-18. They're tanking, but I mean, they're in a game this week against the Carolina Panthers that I actually believe is very winnable. I believe a lot of people are on Carolina this week, or now people are starting to take notice of what the Panthers have been doing. Oh, wow, look at Bryce Young. The team, they're winning games, so do we treat the Panthers seriously? They beat the Packers. They're going to completely fall back down to earth this week. I think the Saints might be kind of competitive. I don't think Tyler Shugg's that good at all. I think the Commander is much better than Spencer Rattler, but they're starting Shugg, and he's, kind of just eyes in on Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed, really. Rashid Shaheed and Juwan Johnson, but there's no more Shaheed. So you're going to have to ball to Vele. Vele's going to be really receiver 2 or receiver 3. I don't know, again, how you want to treat Brandon Cooks. Cooks is just old. Vele's going to get targets this week, man. He's going to catch at least 3. He's going to have at least 3 receptions, I think. And 20 yards, that's not a lot to ask for the guy. So, again, they used a 4th-round pick on him for a reason, for a 27-year-old second-year player. I think they have to kind of use him this week. I'm going to go Devon Vele over 19.5 receiving yards. Again, the whole trade in the offseason makes me think he has to be part of the offense this week with another, by the way, old rookie. Tyler Shugg's 25. He's 26. Oh, my goodness, they were the same age when they were rookies. Oh, my goodness. Why is Tyler Shugg a starting quarterback in the NFL? Whatever. We know this is but Shedeur Sanders isn't a starting quarterback or whatever. It's fine. Give me the over on receiving yards this week for Devon Vele against the Carolina Panthers. On to our third best bet of the video. Let's go to Lumen Field up in the Pacific Northwest, obviously in Seattle, Washington, as we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going with Jacoby Brissett over 235.5 passing yards this week. It should be pretty automatic. The Seahawks defense, it's good. It's not, though, to the point where I'm like, they're off limits. I can't play Jacoby Brissett's over because look how good the Seahawks defense is. It's not like that at all. It's not. And this is a game, let's say how it is. Seattle should be winning. I think the Cardinals are going to cover because that's all the Cardinals do. But the Seahawks should be winning, and Arizona, to stay in the game and to remain competitive in the game, they need to throw the ball. And it's, that's beyond just, game script's going to call for that. Guys, their run game sucks. I don't think Trey Benson's back this yet. I think he was expected to be back this week. It looks like, no, it's going to be both Bam Knight and Amari DiMercado, who I don't know how Amari DiMercado has stuck around. I mean, he dropped the football. Jonathan Gannon, slapped him across the helmet after dropping the football, ultimately losing them the game against the Tennessee Titans. But it appears that he's still around. No, he is, and he's getting big usage as well for the Arizona Cardinals. Last week, he out-carries, and he's technically the starting running back over the presumed starter in Bam Knight. So, DiMercado's in the run game, Bam Knight's there, Michael Carter's on the practice squad, and, he gets moved up to the, the actual roster and whatnot on a weekly basis. And again, Trey Benson's going to be the number 1 back. They obviously dealt with the James Conner injury earlier in the season. Anyways, though, they don't really have a run game. When you mention that many running backs and neither of them or any of them are really all that great, you have a problem and you can't run the football. And obviously a lot of their running used to be done with Kyler Murray, not with, some with drawn up and designed runs, but a lot of just Murray scrambling. But right now, there is no Kyler. Kyler's been put on the IR. Is this a soft benching? Kind of. Again, I think Kyler Murray's going to be the starting quarterback or backup maybe next year in Pittsburgh, waiting it out for a, a Justin Fields situation. Maybe he'll start for the New York Jets next year. I don't know where Kyler Murray's going to start. I don't think it's Arizona. And do I think Jacoby Brissett's the long-term solution? Obviously not. I actually believe it's going to be Mac Jones next year. I think Mac Jones is going to be the starting quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. But Jacoby Brissett for now, so far so good in terms of the yardage. Cardinals are 1-2 in the Jacoby Brissett, I guess, can we call it an era? They're 1-2 so far at Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback. They've lost by 4 points to the Indianapolis Colts, who are a Super Bowl contender, 4 points to the Green Bay Packers, who are a Super Bowl contender, and they walk into Dallas and beat the Dallas Cowboys. And what does the yardage look like every single week for Jacoby Brissett? 320 yards against the Colts, 279 yards against the Packers, and 261 yards against the Dallas Cowboys. And he, maneuvered through the Cowboys defense like it was nothing, and that's exactly what the Cowboys defense is. It's nothing. But I'd imagine, I know the Seattle defense is better than Dallas's, don't get me wrong, and it's better than, is it better than Indy's? I think it's on par with, not anymore, obviously, what the Colts just did. I think it's just better than the Cowboys, okay. I mean, guys, if the Cardinals want to be competitive, which obviously they're going to try to do, they need to throw the ball. And they need to throw the ball a lot. Because I don't trust the run game at all. I know, again, I don't even think Jonathan Gannon trusts the run game. I don't think the Cardinals trust what they can do in the running game. So put the ball in Jacoby Brissett's hands and let him throw. So 235, again, is not a lot to ask. I believe Seattle's going to be scoring quite a bit. Arizona's defense has been off and on, but I think the Seahawks offense and the way that they've been performing with Sam Darnold and with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and we'll see, I believe, some sets this week for the newest Seahawk and Rashid Shaheed, as I believe Cooper Kupp might be out this week. No, Cooper Kupp's probably going to play. He was a full participant in practice on Friday, so yeah, he's going to play. Yeah, I think we're fine here. I think we're okay. I'm going to go here with, not like that really affects anything, but I think the Seahawks offense is going to be, I think they're going to be pushing the ball downfield. I think they're going to be scoring, which means Arizona needs to score at the same exact time. Give me Jacoby Brissett over 235.5 passing yards here on the road up in Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. On to our fourth best player prop of the week. We go to Landover, Maryland, where we now have the Detroit Lions taking on the Washington Commanders. It's time for Jared Goff. I mean, guys, I've said this for the longest time. I said this in week 1, and when I saw Commanders Lions in the schedule, and I'm sure that, I know for fact, well, I don't know for fact, but I'm pretty confident the Lions have had this circled. This has been the game. I mean, the Lions felt like last year was their year. And could this year be their year too? It could. But regardless of what they do in the playoffs this year, and again, maybe they see more success in the playoffs this season. I don't know. I'd hope they would. But regardless of any of that, and you look at the last 3 years, 2 years really for Detroit. They've only been in the playoffs twice with Goff. Last year was their year. And yeah, again, they made the NFC Championship game in 23, and they were right there, and they should have beat the Niners in the NFC Championship game, and they probably win the Super Bowl if they get in against the Chiefs. But 2024 was the Lions season. They were dominant in the regular season. They won 15 games, most in franchise history. They only lost to Buffalo and Tampa Bay in the regular season. And then the first playoff game they played against the Washington Commanders, they lost. That was supposed to be their season. And do they beat Philadelphia the next week? I don't know, honestly. I think that's a 50-50. Again, we know the Detroit injury problem was absolutely massive last year, and it was crazy, up front that they won 15 games with those injuries, and they're just trying to get through the postseason from there. And obviously, again, all those injuries came back to bite them, unfortunately. They're not really hurt this year. They kind of are banged up, but nowhere near what they were last season. They thought last year was their Super Bowl year. And who ended that? That was the Washington Commanders. Now, no Jaden Daniels this week, but it's Marcus Mariota, which actually makes it even better for the Lions. Guys, the Lions usually try to run up the score on teams. They do. I wouldn't say try to run up the score, but they find themselves in positions where they can run up the score because their run game and their O-line is just so good where it's like, all right, what do you want us to do? We're up 35 points and we're still, ripping off 8 yards of carry. It's not like we can just start taking kneel downs with 8 minutes left. So throwing the ball down the 5-yard line and okay, Jared Goff, touchdown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's what they do. They'll get down to the 5-yard line. All right, give the ball to Goff. All right, let's pad Goff's stats, which I have no problem with. Jared Goff is going to be a top 10 quarterback by the time he retires. Trust me, of all time, he's going to be. Just look at the stats. But Jared Goff and the Lions this week should absolutely dominate the squad. They will try to put it on the Commanders. They don't forget. And also there's the factor as well that the Lions don't lose back-to-back games. They have not lost back-to-back games in a season in a very long time. Dan Campbell just doesn't do that. It's a winning precedence that has been set in Detroit now. And this has been a game that they've had circled for a very long time. And to a sense, the Lions now get to do their Super Bowl run last year, right now in these next 2 weeks, in Washington, in Philadelphia. Now, don't get me wrong, last year both those games, or the Commanders game was in Detroit and the Philly game was going to be in Detroit last year, but they get a chance to go on the road and play both these teams that they felt like they should have beat in the playoffs last season. Now, they got a shot against Kansas City early in the year and they lost. That game was very rigged, but it's okay. It's fine, whatever. See you in the Super Bowl, I guess. I don't know. If the Lions get there, I don't know. If Kansas City gets there, they're not even in the playoffs right now. But it's a big spot for the Lions, and I expect Goff and his team to really throw the ball. I know, by the way, it's beyond just how they feel, guys. Look how Washington's played. The Commanders last week put up the most disgusting effort defensively I've ever seen. I don't know if it's just a mindset. It's not, because it's not like Daniels was out the entire game. He got hurt in the fourth quarter in garbage time. Guys, Darnold was perfect passing in the first half. Sam Darnold went 21 for 24 passing for 330 yards. They had no answer. The Commanders got dog-walked in the first half. What's going to happen when the Lions come into town, who are actually better? And now it's like a whole morale thing, too, for the Commanders. Oh, we lost our quarterback. Dan Quinn leaves him in the fourth quarter, and apparently Jan Daniels is actually going to play probably in about a month and a half, which is great. He'll play at the end of the season. Probably actually a month, which is crazy. There's no fracture, I believe is what it is, just straight broken. So good on Daniels. I'm glad he's going to be back. But it's a whole mindset thing. You know your season's kind of over. It's Marcus Mariota. Woo. Yeah, I'm going with Jared Goff to beat up on the Washington Commanders. Jared Goff over 247.5 passing yards. That's truly not a lot for Goff. Last week against the Vikings, Goff 284 yards. They're going to, trust me, the game script is going to have them throwing the ball quite a bit. It's going to look like the Cincinnati game where Detroit's just throwing it all game long. They ran the ball quite a bit in that game too. It's just what they do. But Goff against the Bengals had 260 yards. I'd expect more than that this week. I'm thinking like 280s for Jared Goff, and he should be able to get this quite easily. So give me one of the best quarterbacks in football, Jared Goff, over 247.5 passing yards for the Lions on the road in Washington against the Commanders. On to our final best bet of the video. We go to Monday Night Football. Let's go with Jalen Hurts. I believe this is a game. I'll say it now. Again, go watch our best bets for spreads and money lines earlier today, but I'll give you one of the picks right now. I took the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Green Bay Packers. And that's also why I think it's really important for the Lions to beat up on the Commanders, because they're going to end up back in first place after this week because the Packers are going to lose to Philadelphia. Again, if you want full reasoning on that, go check out our best bets video. I feel like I did a pretty good job explaining that over there. Anyways, we're taking Jalen Hurts this week. We're taking Hurts over 193.5 passing yards. Not a lot of yards. It's not a lot of yards for a Philadelphia offense that I don't want to say has been transformed, but they are allowing Hurts to do more. And yeah, Barkley's coming off his best game of the year, and in turn, Jalen Hurts only had 180 yards against the New York Giants. But you get a fully healthy receiving core. Obviously, Devontae Smith is very involved, but A.J. Brown is fully healthy again too. You have, obviously, Goddard and Dotson as well, who can help out. I mean, Goddard's had some big games this season. Hell, had 100-plus yards on Thursday night earlier in the season at the Meadowlands against the New York Giants. But Hurts they've allowed Hurts to do a lot more in the passing game recently. And whether that be, a result of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith not being happy with what's going on, the fact that they really took the foot off the gas in the Tampa Bay game and almost let the Buccaneers come back and win that game against them because they couldn't complete a pass. I don't know what that is. In terms of, I don't know what the shift has been because of. But Hurts has thrown the ball a lot more. And Hurts, again, I think it's forgotten. Like Jalen Hurts, when they actually let him throw, and when Hurts goes into a game with the mindset and the team has the mindset of, okay, we're going to beat you through the air. We're going to beat you with the pass game. And yes, Saquon can help us. Our great offensive line can help us. But at the same time, Jalen Hurts can do his thing passing-wise too. They're a difficult team to beat. I mean, watch the Super Bowl and what Jalen Hurts does through the air. Does he complete the most passes? No. Actually, I think Hurts does his best damage on the ground. He had some great passes in that game. Obviously, the Devontae Smith post route in the back of the end zone. But when you need Hurts to be a good quarterback and sit in the pocket, he absolutely can be that. They're playing the Packers this week, a team that the Eagles, and I said this when we made the best bets video for the money lines and the spreads, a team that Philadelphia has already beaten twice last season. Sure, it's last year, but regardless, a lot of the same pieces on both sides. I understand that Green Bay did not have a guy named Micah Parsons on their team last year, which, has been a big player, or obviously has been a big reason to why everyone feels like Green Bay is one of the favorites in the NFC. But I watched Jalen Hurts, and I believe he's looked a lot better. They've been hitting the long ball more often now. I mean, look at the Minnesota game, and I get it. He's coming off a game where he only threw for 179 yards against the New York Giants. He completed 15 passes that game. I mean, Hurts has been pretty constantly prior to that, and other than just that game, completing 20 passes a night. And it's, again, maybe some nights Hurts is Hurts doesn't make all the right plays in terms of he doesn't always connect with his receivers. But ultimately, guys, Hurts has been a pretty good passer this season. Yeah, yardage-wise, he's not great. Jalen Hurts has a 70% completion rate. He threw for 1,700 yards, which isn't amazing, but 15 touchdowns and 1 interception. He threw 1 pick in that Thursday night game against the Giants on the road. Other than that, guys, Jalen Hurts has been very good this season. And this line is just so low for a starting quarterback in the National Football League who has won a Super Bowl and won Super Bowl MVP before. Jalen Hurts, 194 passing yards is all we need this week. Sign me up. I know last week, right, Green Bay doesn't allow a lot of passing yards, but look who's playing quarterback for Carolina. No disrespect to Bryce Young, but the reason the Panthers are winning games right now is not because of their quarterback. It's because of the defense, and it's because of that O-line and what Rico Dowdle has done. So I don't think we can put much into, Green Bay played well against the pass last week. That does not matter, okay? It's a Monday night game. It's going to be a big-time game. These are two powerhouses right now in the NFC, and I believe the Eagles have just had the Packers' number recently, and they're going to continue to have the Packers' number. So I think in a win, Jalen Hurts is going to go over 193.5 passing yards. We just need, if he gets 200, we're fine. He can even go under 200, and we're still going to clear this line. I absolutely love it. Give me Jalen Hurts on Monday Night Football. Again, the game script can still call for a lot of running out of Philadelphia, and I think it's going to. I think it's still going to be a run-heavy attack. At the same time, though, you can run the ball 20 plus times a game with Saquon Barkley, and Hurts can still find a way to 200 yards. It's just not that much for an NFL quarterback. I think he's going to do it. Give me Jalen Hurts again over 193.5 passing yards. Folks, that'll do it for our best player props here for week number 10 of the NFL season. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back again next week for more NFL predictions for week 11 and best bets and player props as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba, forever.